Hi, welcome to my very first YouTube video. This is my 3-foot by 1-foot N-gauge layout, which I've been building for the last couple of months. The whole idea around it is to base it on a China clay facility somewhere in Cornwall. It's kind of an inglenook type layout where I can just do lots of shunting, and I've been building it up over the last couple of months. As you can see on the layout, a lot of the ground is Das modelling clay, and what I've done is I've used the modelling clay because it's so pliable to just build up the road surface. So you'll notice that even though I've ballasted, the road surface actually comes up to meet the same height as the sleeper, so I don't really have that ballast edge that you see a lot of. So in the main yard area, I've used plaster, a very thin layer of plaster over the top of the Das modelling clay, just to even out any of those little bumps. And also makes for for me, makes a slightly nicer surface in N-gauge for the yard. And a technique I really like is to grab a paintbrush before the plaster dries, dip it in some water, and run the paintbrush over the top of the plaster and indent some of the tyre tracks that you want later on. So you can see that I've done them into my mock-up buildings here and then up to and over the railway. Once the plaster sets, these will be very slight indentations and we can pick those out later. I always want to paint the yard grey first. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first reason is that plaster's white, clay is red. So if I go and put a cream colour, a white colour on top of both of those, then A, I might miss part of the plaster and I'll end up with a white patch, or B, I might have some of the red from the clay start to come through, and I don't want either of those. So the grey is a primer. I'll then mix up the cream colour that I want to use on the yard. I'm using Artist's acrylics, they're readily available and they're cheap, and I'm mixing sand, brown and a little bit of grey together to give me that off-white creamy colour. And I'll do a very thin a layer as possible over the grey, over the whole area. The great thing about acrylics is they're really quick drying, so once you've got to one end of the layout, the other end is probably dry. But go and have a cup of tea, leave it to dry for a couple of hours and then come back and do another coat. Once the paint's dry, I grab a track rubber and I just go over any parts of the railway where the road meets the rail, just get rid of any excess paint that may have spilt. I'll then give it a quick hoover, get rid of all the rubber debris. Best thing to do is give it a test run. When I've been looking at photos of China clay facilities in Cornwall, they're not clean. There's always grass growing next to the tracks. They're never well looked after facilities. So what I want to do with this model is add lots of static grass. So rather than just adding that over the top, I want to plan where that static grass is going to go. So then the next stage here is to add some brown paint. So it's a brown wash. So I've used acrylic paint again, but I've mixed it with a lot of water so that it's not so intense. And then what I'm going to do is effectively draw out grass beds, flower beds, where the static grass will go. Now, I do this so that A, I know where I'm going to put the static grass and where the glue needs to be put, but also it just helps when you've put the static grass on that the cream colour, the light cream colour, doesn't come up through the grass. A little bit of brown underneath just helps separate the grass from the road. Once I've done the grass beds, I'll then move on to the tyre tracks. And you'll remember earlier that I used a paintbrush in the plaster to draw out and imprint tyre tracks. So now it's a case of going over those with a brown wash. I don't want it too strong, so I'm using lots of water and as minimal brown paint as I can, just to help pick out those tyre tracks. It's quite clear from all the photos from the China clay facility that the ground is always quite white, and that because of the dust, obviously, off the China clay. So for me, on my model at the moment, these tyre tracks are too dark. So I need to try and lighten them up. And the best way to do that, and something that is white and dusty, is chalk. So I'll grab my chalk and I'll just very slowly put little bits of chalk in and rub it in with my finger. That way you can do little bits at a time, you can keep adding until those tyre tracks are a lot thinner. And the great thing about this is if you do too much chalk, you can just get a little bit of water and wash it off. And once I've done that, I'm going to coat the whole area with hairspray, and that will just hold the chalk dust down and any stray bits of grass fibre. So here's the finished yard painted up. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted tyre tracks, I wanted cream colour paint, and I wanted a light dust to show that it's a China Clay facility. So that's exactly what I was going for. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video, please give it a like below and subscribe to my channel, where I'll be doing lots of regular modelling tips and tricks over the next few months. Bye for now.